Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. Okay, so we wait for a few minutes before we start today's lecture. Okay, Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. Okay, so today we are going to cover chapter 3. Okay, so today again I will going to give you a lecture for chapter 3, the relational database models. Okay, so before we start our lecture for today, I would like to remind you, okay, to make sure that you record your attendance through Spectrum. Okay. Okay, chapter 3, okay, the relational database model. So again, if you have any questions, okay, for today's lecture, you can put your questions through the chat dashboard. So there will be Dr. Fariza Hanum together with Dr. Khalid. They are going to answer your questions. Okay. Okay, so chapter 3, the relational database model. So for this chapter, okay, so these are the learning objective for this chapter. You will learn the relational database model, which offers a logical view of data. Okay, so it is not a physical, but it is a logical view of data. It is about the relational models basic components, which is if we have a relational model, so its main basic component is relation. Okay, that relations are logical construct which compose of rows and columns. Okay, so one relation consists of rows and columns. Okay, that relations are implemented as a tables in a relational DBMS. So relations, okay, we call as a rows and columns. Okay, and then we are going to develop these relations into a table using a DBMS. So that's the relationship between relation and tables. Okay. Then you will learn about relational database operators such as data dictionary and system catalogs. Okay, and then how data redundancy is handled in the relational database model, and what is indexing and why it is important in a relational database model. Okay, so these are the things that you will learn in chapter 3. Okay. So what is a logical view of data? Okay, so relational database model enable logical representation of the data and its relationship. So it is how we represent the data before we implement or before we develop it using a DBMS. Okay, so it shows a logical simplicity that yield a simple and effective database design methodologies. Okay, and it is facilitated by the creation of data relationship, which it is based on logical construct that we call a relation. So that's a logical view of data. Okay, so if in the previous chapter last week, okay, you have learned what is a relation. Okay, okay, so a relation, it is also referred as a table. Okay, relation is equal as a table. Okay, so relations, it is a matrix representation. Okay, which it is composed of rows and columns. Okay, rows, it is also we refer as a tuples. Okay, and then columns, it is what we call as attributes. Okay, so relations, it is equal to a tables. Okay, okay, so these are the characteristics of a relational tables. Okay, so this I put an example here. Okay, so a table is perceived as a two-dimensional structure composed of rows and columns. Okay, so if you look at this students table, okay, we have, it is a two-dimensional structure. Okay, composed of rows and a column. Okay, so we have three rows here, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. So this is a table. Okay, table consists of two-dimensional structure. Okay, each table, okay, each table row, okay, which we also known as a tuple. Okay, so this is one tuple. Okay, represents a single entity occurrence within the entity set. Okay, so let's say for these examples, okay, if you look at the student table, okay, the first row 60001, okay, the student ID 6001, it is represents a single entity occurrence for one student. Okay, so each row represents an instance for one. Okay, and then okay, number 3, each table column represents an attribute. Okay, and each column has a distinct name. Okay, so the first column, it is referred to student ID. Okay, so this is what we refer to an attribute. Okay, so student ID, student first name, okay, last name, phone number, it is considered as an attribute. Okay, so we have 4 attributes here. Okay, and then each of these column, okay, okay, so column 1, column 2, and so on, it is its own, it has its own name. Okay, so it has a distinct name. Okay, so this is student ID. Okay, first name. Okay, all column must have their own name. Okay. Okay, each intersection of a row and column represents a single data values. Okay, if you look at here, okay, student first name, okay, for student ID 6001, it is, we have Zachary here. Okay, so one rows, okay, each intersections, okay, we only have one values, okay, one data values, okay. All values in a column must confirm the same data format. Okay, so the first column, it is mainly for student matric number. Okay, the second column, it is for first name. The third one is, it is for last name and so on. So the same one column, okay, must conform to the same data format. Okay, number 6. Okay, each column has a specific range of values which we known as the attribute domains. Okay, so every columns, okay, let's say the student first name. Okay, so the attribute domain for this column, it is what we refer to the domain for name. Okay, so it must fulfill the attribute domain that we have defined. Okay, number 7, the order of the rows and columns is immaterial to the DBMS. So how they arrange the rows here, okay, it is depends on the DBMS itself. Okay, but usually the rows is arranged based on the according number in the sequence ascending orders of numbers. Okay, the order of, okay, and the last one is each table must have an attribute or combinations of attributes that uniquely identifies each row. Okay, so for this one we will look more into in more details later. Okay, so each table, okay, so this table, okay, we must have one or more than one attributes that we can use to identify a row. Okay, if you look at the first first row, okay, what is the suitable attributes that we can use to identify a row? Okay, it can be, we can use student ID, or we can use first name, or phone number. So these are the possible attributes that we can use to uniquely identify each row. Okay. Okay, so that's the characteristics of a relational tables. Okay. What is keys? Okay, so keys, it is when it consists of one or more attributes that determine other attributes. Okay, one attribute that we can use to determine the other attributes. Okay, let's say for example, okay, your metric number. If I know your metric number, so meaning that I can know, okay, I know who you are. Okay, your names, okay, your what else? Okay, your names, your address, okay, your programs and so on. Okay, if I know, okay, if I know the program code, okay, then we can we know that the program code belongs to which programs. Okay, so the student ID, it is considered as a key. Okay, keys here, it can consist of one or more than one attributes. Okay, what is the purpose of keys? Okay, we use a key or keys in order to ensure that each row in a table is uniquely identifiable. Okay, so we can identify, okay, so this row, it is belongs to whom. Okay, we want to identify each rows in a table. Okay. Okay, then it is to establish relationships among tables and to ensure the integrity of the data. Okay, so we must set the key so that we can establish relationships among tables. Okay. Okay. What is primary key? Okay, primary key, it is an attribute, okay, or combination of attributes. Okay, so meaning that it can be one or it can be more than one. Okay, that uniquely identifies any given rows. Okay, so if you look at this, okay, if you look at this student tables, okay, what is the possibility of primary key here? It can be student ID, okay, or it can be a combination of student ID and student first name. So how these are the possibility of the primary key. So which one is the best to be chosen as the primary key? It is depends on the data itself. Okay. Okay, keys. Okay, determinations. Okay, determination, it states in which knowing the value of one attribute makes it possible to determine the value of another. Okay, so this is what I explained earlier. If I know your metric number, then I can know your name, your programs and so on. Okay, if let's say for employees, okay, if we know the employee ID, then we must know, we can know the details of the employees for that person, for that particular person. Okay. Okay, so it's the basis for establishing the role of a key. Okay, we must understand, okay, we should know the determinant first, okay, so that we can establish a key. Okay, then it is based on the relationships among the attributes. Okay, so that's determinations. Okay, dependencies. Okay. Okay, functional dependence. Okay, functional dependence. Okay, it is when it is a condition when one value of one. Okay, value of one or more attributes that we can use to determine the value of one or more other attributes. Okay, it can be one or it can be more than one attributes that we can use, okay, to determine the value of one or more other attributes. Okay, okay, if you look at here, okay, we have two, which is determinants and dependents. Okay, determinant, it is an attribute, or okay, it can be one or it can be more than one. Okay, so determinant, it is attribute whose values determines another values. Okay, dependence, it is attribute whose value is determined by the other attributes. Okay. Okay, full functional dependencies, it is when entire collection of attributes in the determinant is necessary for the relationship. Okay, so for functional dependencies, you have to clearly understand this. The concept behind the functional dependencies, because you are going to use this concept further in the next topic, which is normalizations. Okay. Okay, so if you look at this example here, okay, employee ID, okay, is okay, dependence is okay, employee ID is the determinant for employee email. Okay, so meaning that if I know the employee ID for employee A, then I can know the email address for that employee. Okay, so attribute on the hand left side, okay, employee email is not. Okay, attribute on the hand left side, okay, which is employee ID, is known as the determinant. Okay, so employee ID is determinant and employee email is dependent. Okay, so employee ID is determinant of employee email. Okay, employee email is the dependence of employee ID. Okay, so this is a way how we can represent the determinant for attributes. Okay, employee ID, okay, arrow, employee email. Okay, so this is shows that employee ID is the determinant of employee email. Okay, so what are the another examples that we can have? Okay, program ID, determinant for program name. Okay, if we know the program ID, then we should know what is the program name for that program ID. Okay, department ID. Okay, so that's all the examples that we can use to explain the determinants and dependents. Okay. Okay, if you look at here, okay, full functional dependence, it is sorry, someone is take control for the presentation, so I need to open it back. Okay, full functional dependencies, it is when entire collection of attributes in the determinant is necessary for the relationship. Okay, so if we look at here, okay, let's say we have employee ID, employee name. Okay, let's say we have two, employee ID, employee name is the determinant for employee email. Okay, so meaning that okay, employee ID is full. Okay, full functional dependence for employee email. If all, okay, all from the entire collection. Okay, so that's how you should know the dependence. Okay, the concept of dependence. Okay, next. Okay, types of keys. Okay, so composite keys, it is a key that is composed of more than one attribute. Okay, it is a key, but that key is composed from more than one attribute. Okay, the key attributes, okay, attribute that is a part of a key. Okay, entity integrity, it is a condition when each row in the table has its own unique identities. Okay, so meaning that, okay, for entity integrity, it is when all the values in the primary key must be unique. Okay, unique mean for the primary key value, it cannot be the same values in the same tables. Okay, we cannot have a same values for same tables. Okay, and then no key attribute in the primary key can contain a null values. Okay, if we decide the student ID as the primary key, okay, so the value of the primary key, there is must be a value for that. Okay, so we shouldn't have a null values. Okay, what is null? Okay, null is the absence of any data value that could represent, okay, unknown attribute value for the present. Okay, so we don't know the value yet. Okay, it is a known but missing attribute values, or it is an inapplicable conditions. Okay, so the null value, it is usually we don't know the value yet. Okay, so it is not zero, okay, but it is null. Okay, we don't know the value yet. Okay, referential integrity, okay, it is a constraint, okay, where every reference to an entity instance by another entity instance is valid. Okay, if we refer to that entity instance, it must be valid. Okay. Okay, relational database keys. Okay, so there are few types of keys. Okay, we have a super key, okay, candidate key. Okay, super key, candidate key, primary, foreign, and secondary key. So what are the differences between these keys? Okay, what is super key? Okay, it is an attribute or combination of attributes that uniquely identifies each row in a table. Okay, so it can be one attribute or more than one attribute that we can use to identify a row in a table. Okay. Okay, candidate key. Okay, candidate key, it is a minimal super key. Okay, it is a super key that does not contain a subset of attributes that it is itself a super key. Okay, candidate key, it is a subset of super key. Okay, candidate key is a subset for super key. Okay, okay, primary key, it is a candidate key which we select, okay, to uniquely identify all other attribute values in any given row. Okay, so primary key should be from candidate keys. Okay, and then as again here, as we learned before, okay, candidate key for primary key cannot contain null values. Okay, there must be a values for primary key. Okay, what is foreign key? Okay, foreign key, it is an attribute or combination of attributes in one table, okay, whose value must either match the primary key in another table or be null. Okay, so let's say we have two tables. Okay, we have table A and table B. Okay, so let me explain this first. Okay, secondary key, it is an attribute or combination of attributes that use strictly for data retrieval purposes. Okay, so if we look at this table, okay, so we have two relations here. Okay, product, okay, and vendor. Okay, so two tables. Okay, if we look at these tables, okay, so what is the primary key for product? Okay, what are the super key for products? It can be product code. Okay, it can be what else? Okay, product code, product descriptions. Okay, similar for candidate keys. Okay, so but okay, what is the primary key for product? Product code, right? Okay, and then for vendor, okay, what is the primary key? Vendor code. Okay, so what is the foreign key for table products? Okay, vendor code. Okay, so meaning that foreign key, it is a primary key for one table. Okay, when it exists in another table, then it is exists as a foreign key. Okay, vendor code here. Okay, vendor code in table name is referred as a foreign primary key, but its existence in table products as a foreign key. Okay, so that's the explanation for foreign key. Okay, how about secondary key? Okay, so secondary key, it is only an attribute that we use, okay, for data retrieval purposes. Okay, so this is mainly for retrieval purposes. Okay, so that's the explanation for super key, okay, candidate key, primary key, foreign key, and secondary key. So please make sure that you understand clearly the definitions and how we are going to use all these keys in the database. Okay. Okay, so I have found one video to explain further for. Can you see? Can you see the video?
No.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
doctor.
Let me share the. Okay.
There's no volume. There's no sound.
Hello friends, and welcome back to Study Tonight's YouTube channel. In this video, we will talk about DBMS keys. Students are always confused about this concept as there are many different kinds of DBMS keys and almost all are related to each other with a slight difference, which makes it very difficult at times to get a clear understanding. Database keys. Why we need a database key or a DBMS key is an attribute or a set of attributes which help you uniquely identify any record or row of data in a table. Let's take an example. In the table above, we have SID, SNAME, SBranch and SEmail as attributes, saving details about students. If I ask you to tell me email address of the student with name Adam, can you tell me? No, because there are two students with name Adam. Or if I ask you, tell me name of student who is in CS branch. Again, there will be many students in that branch. But if you look closely, SID column has unique value for all the rows of data. And the SEmail column also has unique email addresses. Hence, these two columns can be used to identify records in the above table. So we can say that SID and SEmail are keys for this relation. This brings us to the question, why we need keys? The first reason is pretty much obvious. Without a DBMS key, you cannot access the rows of data stored in the table uniquely. Because without a key, most of the time you will either receive multiple rows of data or incorrect rows of data. Another big reason, which is kind of an extension of the first reason, is we can force identity of data and ensure integrity of data is maintained using DBMS keys. By making an attribute a key and making it mandatory, we can enforce that anything inserted in the table is identifiable, hence ensuring data integrity too. And last but not the least, we can establish a relationship between tables using keys. It's time for the main event, types of DBMS keys. There are 8 different types of DBMS keys, of which super key is like the default key, and composite and compound keys are like cousin sisters. We'll see when we learn about them. So we will be starting with super key, then we will move on to candidate key, then primary and alternate keys, then the foreign key, which is different from all others and serves a purpose which none of the other keys do. And then we will cover the remaining keys, which are composite, compound, and surrogate. Super key is nothing but a key. It is a superset of keys in which all possible keys are included. Like in our example, SID, registration ID, email, then combination of them, SID, registration ID and email, email and SID, and then all three together, SID, registration ID, email, all are super keys. There can be more as well. In simpler words, an attribute or a set of attributes that can be used to identify records in a table is a super key.
Can you hear
Then
the
comes candidate key. It
YouTube?
is the minimal set of super key, which can be
Can you
used
hear
to
the
uniquely
YouTube?
identify
No.
rows of data in a
There's no
table.
sound for the YouTube.
We saw that we have so many options for super keys,
Let me try.
but
Let me
most
try
of them are
to
formed by
open from
unnecessary
the.
pairing
Okay.
of keys, like email ID, SID, registration ID together as a key,
There's an
or
option of
email SID
include
as a
sound.
key. When email SID and registration ID can individually
In the share
uniquely
screen,
identify
there's
a
an
row
option of
data.
include sound.
Okay, still cannot, right? Still cannot. Still cannot hear the. Okay, so I'm not sure what happens to the. Let me. Okay. Maybe you can you try to open the YouTube from the. I have shared the video at the Spectrum. It's okay. We try to finish. Okay, I will explain it later. Okay, I think this time you can hear the sound. Okay, can you hear the sound now?
No, doctor.
Say that
No.
SIP and SPP are keys for this revolution.
You know.
This brings us to the question, why we need keys? The first
Yes. Okay. Okay, class, I'm not sure. Okay, so just now you can hear the sound, but yeah, suddenly someone is muting me, so that I think that's why you cannot hear the voice, the sound from the video. Okay, so I think I have shared the video through Spectrum, so maybe later you can open it yourself. Is it okay? Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So basically, the video. Okay, the video explain the differences between different types of keys. Okay, so we have super key, candidate keys. Okay. Okay, super key, candidate key, primary key, foreign key, and secondary key. Okay, so super key, it can be any attributes that we can use to identify rows for a table. So it looks like that in one row, okay, we can have any values that can be used to identify a row. Okay, candidate key, it is a subset for a super key. It is a keys or values that we can use as a candidate to be a primary key. Okay, primary key, it is among the candidate keys, but it is the most suitable one to be used as the primary key. Okay, if you look at the video just now, we have a student table. Okay, where the candidate key for that table is student ID and registration ID. Okay, but compare this primary student ID and registration ID. Okay, student ID is the best attributes that we can select to be the primary key compared to registration ID. Okay. Okay, so that's the differences between primary key, candidate key, and super key. Okay, what is the foreign key? Okay, foreign key, it is an attribute, okay, where it is exists as a primary key in one table. Okay, then when it is exists in another table, then it must exist as a foreign key. Okay, so that's for foreign key. Okay, then secondary key, it is usually an attribute that we use strictly for data retrieval purposes. Okay, because usually when we want to retrieve a data, okay, when we want to retrieve students' information, okay, in this new Maya system, okay, we cannot recognize your metric number, but maybe we are familiar with your name, okay, because for example, I cannot remember your full name, but I can remember that your name starts with Muhammad. So we can do the searching, okay, we can do the retrieval purposes based on your last name, for example. So that's what we refer to secondary key. Okay. Okay, so I hope you are clear with the different types of keys, okay, that exist in a DBMS. Okay. Okay, so next, okay, integrity rules. Okay, integrity rules, there are two things that you should know. Okay, the first one is the requirement is all primary key entries are unique. Okay, and no part of a primary key may be null. Okay, so when we decided that one attribute is the primary key, so there must be a value for that attribute. Okay, if we consider as the student ID as the primary key, so there must be a value for student ID. Okay, it cannot contain a null values. Okay. Okay, so the purpose of this entity integrity is, okay, each row will have a unique identity and foreign key values can properly reference primary key values. Okay, because the purpose of primary key, it can be used to uniquely identify a row. Okay, so that's why for primary key it cannot contain a null value. Okay. Okay, for examples, okay, number invoice can have a duplicate number. Okay, no, it can be null. Okay, so this is for, okay, examples for entity integrity. Okay, then the second one is, okay, the second requirement is, okay, a foreign key may have either a null entry or an entry that matches a primary key value in a table, okay, to which it is related. Okay, so it is possible for an attribute not to have a corresponding value, but it is impossible to have an invalid entry. Okay, so meaning that, okay, if the primary key, okay, exists in another table as a foreign key. Okay, so a primary key in a table A exists in table B as a foreign key. Okay, so let's say in the foreign key there exists okay, let me show you an example using this. Okay, vendor code is the primary key for vendor. Okay, and then it is exists as a foreign key in product tables. Okay, if you look at here, all the values that we have for vendor code in the product table, okay, it is the same values that we have in the vendor tables. Okay, so meaning that, okay, all the values, okay, all the values that we have in the product table, okay, must have a valid values, okay, valid attributes, no, valid values for the attribute vendor code. Okay, so meaning that 232 it is exists here, 235 it is also exists here, and so on. Okay, so we cannot have 200, okay, for vendor code in the products because it is invalid entry for vendor. Okay, so that's the purpose of integrity rules. Okay, it is impossible to delete a row in a table whose primary keys has mandatory matching foreign keys in another table. Okay, let's say if you look at these tables, okay. Okay, is that possible for us to delete the vendor code 232 here? Okay, we cannot delete, right? Because it is referred to another table. Okay, we cannot delete 230, for example, 232 because it is referred in product table. Okay, so that's the second purpose of entity integrity. Okay, example I have explained earlier. Okay, so these are the two requirements for entity integrities. Okay. Okay, so if you look at this, okay, so another examples that we can use. Okay, so agent code. Okay, agent code is the primary key for agent. Okay, and then it is exists as a foreign key for table customers. Okay, so the first entity integrity is, okay, all primary keys entries are unique. Okay, so all this primary key for agent code is unique. Okay, then the second requirement is a foreign key may have either a null. Okay, so for agent code here, we can have a null values, or any values for agent code here must match with the values that we have for agent code in agent table. Okay, so that's there are two entity integrity that you should know. Okay. So the first one is the primary key cannot have a null value, and then the primary key the foreign key may have a null value, or the value must match the values that we have in the parents tables. Okay. Okay. Ways to handle nulls. Okay. Okay, we can use flags. Okay, flags, it is a special code used to indicate the absence of the sum values. Okay, so we provide a special code. Okay, so this special code it is to indicate the absence of the sum values. It is absence for the time being. Okay, so meaning that we can put the value later. Okay, so the second approach that we can use is to implement the not null constraints. Okay, so not null constraints, it is to ensure that every row in the table has a value for that column. Okay, so these are the approaches that you can use when you develop a database. Okay. And then you want to it is a ways how we can handle the null values. Okay, either to put a flags. Okay, a flags, it is a special code, or you provide the not null constraints, or also unique constraints. Okay, so for unique constraints, it is a restrictions that placed on a column to ensure that no duplicate values exist for that column. Okay. So these two constraints, okay, we put besides a column when we create a database. Okay, when we create a table in the database design. Okay. Okay. Okay, relational algebra. It is a theoretical way of manipulating tables contents using relational operators. So this is an approach that we can use to manipulate tables in a DBMS. Okay, rel_var, it is a variable that holds a relations. Okay, heading contains the names of the attributes and the body contains the relations. So usually we must have the attributes together with the relation that belongs to the attributes. Okay, relational operators have the property of closure. Okay, it is used relational algebra operators on existing relations produce new relations. Okay, so these are a few of relational set operators. Okay, we have select, okay, project, union, intersect. Okay. Okay, so the first one is select. Okay, it is a unary operator that yield a horizontal subset of a table. Okay, horizontal subset. Okay, so if this is examples of select. Okay, so these are the original table. Okay, product. Okay, when we select all, okay, select all meaning that we want to select all from the original table. So these are the outputs. Okay, select all. Okay, so these are the results that we get. Okay, okay, let's say we select only price. Okay, less than $2. Okay, so if we look at here, we only want to display price. Okay, with the amount is less than 2, which is for the product code 213345 and 254467. Okay, so these are the outputs for the select operators. Okay. Okay, then if we select only P code equal to 311452. Okay, so we want to select P code equal to this one. Okay, so we only obtain the last rows. Okay, P code, P descriptions and price. Okay, because we select all. Okay, select all for only code. Okay. Okay, this is for select. Okay, project. Okay, project, it is a unary operator that yields a vertical subset of a table. Okay, vertical. For select, it is horizontal. Okay, so this is for select. Okay, select, it is for horizontal. Okay, but for project, okay, it is for vertical. Okay, vertical, it means that by columns. Okay, project price. Okay, so meaning that we only want to display the price column. Okay, so these are the original table. Okay, project price. So these are the output. Okay, project descriptions and price. Okay, we want to display descriptions and price. Okay, project P code and price. Okay, so these are the results for project P code and price. Okay, so these are for project operators. Okay, for select, it is for horizontal. It is based on row. And then for project, it is based on, it is a vertical subset. It is based on columns. Okay. Okay. Union. Okay, what is union for? Okay, union combines all rows from two tables. Okay, for unions, it is means that we want to combine all. Okay, all, it is not specific, but it is for all rows from two tables. Okay, and then we exclude any duplicate rows. Okay, union compatibles. Okay, tables share the same number of columns and their corresponding columns share compatible domains. Okay, so this is for union. Okay, union. Okay, union means, okay, we want to combine. Okay, combine all rows from first table and second table. Okay, and then we want to exclude any duplicate rows. Okay. Okay, but you have to make sure that when you want to union two tables, okay, the tables must have the same columns, same number of columns. Okay, if we look at here, we have 3 columns. Okay, 3 similar columns. Okay, P code, P descriptions, and price. Okay, and then for the second tables, we also have P code, P descriptions, and price. Okay, only when we have the same number of column, okay, with their same name of column, then we can union these two tables. Okay. Okay, so this is for union. Okay. Okay, then the last one is, okay, so this is for intersect. Okay, intersections. Okay, intersections, it is yields only the rows that appear in both tables. Okay. Okay, so this is for intersections. Okay. Okay, for union, if it is for union, we want to combine all rows from two tables. Okay, but for intersections, it is when we want to display any rows, okay, that exists from two tables. Okay, any rows that exist in two tables. Okay. Okay, then again, okay, tables must be union compatible, okay, to yield a valid result. Okay, so again, the column name, okay, the column domain must be similar. Okay, here we have student first name, student last name. Okay, this is employee first name and employee last name. So if we have a similar, a compatible, then we can intersect these two tables. Okay, if we look at here, student first name, okay, student tables, okay, intersect with employee tables. Okay, so what is the result? Okay, we have Franklin and Johnson. Okay, here we also have Franklin and Johnson. So this is the results for intersections. Okay. Okay, so this is for, okay, relational set operators. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so now we move to difference. Okay, what is difference? Okay, difference, it is it will yield all rows in one table. Okay, that are not found in another tables. Okay, again, tables must be union compatible to yield a valid result. Okay, so this is different. Okay, all rows, okay, in one tables that are not found in the another tables. Okay, so we have here, okay, but we don't have it here. Okay, we have Josh, okay, Jane, okay, Peter, okay, Franklin, we have, okay, Franklin Johnson, we have it here. Okay, Martin, okay, okay, so Josh Jones, okay, James Smith, okay, Peter Robinson, okay, Martin Lopez. Okay, so for Franklin Johnson's, we have it here. Okay, Franklin Johnson's. Okay. Okay, then the second one is, okay, divide, okay, product. Okay, product yields all possible pairs of rows from two tables. Okay, so this is for, okay, product. Okay, product, it is when we want to combine, okay, two tables. Okay, product and store. Okay, when we want to combine, okay, let's say this is the original from product. Okay, from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 until here. Okay, so this is for this one, we product with all these three, and then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 lamp. Okay, we combine with these three. Okay, so these are the three, and then again, okay, so we have to combine row by row. Okay. Okay, so this is for product. Okay, yields all possible pairs. Okay, we produce any possible pairs for these two tables. Okay. Okay, next we have join. Okay, actually for joins we have a various types of join. Okay, join allows information to be intelligently combined from two or more tables. Okay, so when we want to join, we must have at least two tables. Okay. Okay, join, we have several types of join. Okay, natural join. Okay, natural joins, it is when we want to link tables by selecting only the rows with common values in their common attributes. Okay, so this is joins. Okay. Okay, join columns. Okay, when we to join a common columns. Okay, equijoins and theta joins. Okay, so this is examples of types of joints. Okay, inner joints, okay, outer joints, left outer joints and right outer joints. Okay, so this is for join. Okay, when you want to combine, okay, when you want to join between customer and agent tables. Okay. Okay, for join, okay, for inner join, okay, only returns mesh records from the tables that are being joined. Okay, so this is we only receive any mesh records from both tables that we have joined. Okay, for outer join, okay, mesh pairs are retained. Okay, and then okay, unmatched values in the other tables are left null. Okay, so we retained any mesh pairs, but for any unmatched values, we will left as a null values. Okay, okay. Then for outer join, we have left outer join and also right outer join. Okay, for left outer join, okay, it yields all of the rows in the first tables, including those do not have a matching values in the second tables. Okay, so this is for left outer, okay, we yields all the rows in the first tables, okay, including those that do not have a matching values. Okay, so that's for left outer joins. Okay, then for right outer joins, okay, it is on will yields all the rows in the second tables, okay, and then it is include those that do not have matching values in the first table. So this is the differences between left outer join and right outer join. Okay, so basically all these operators, okay, this is for logical view, but further when you learn about SQL statements later, okay, you should be able to apply all these types of operators in your SQL. Okay, so you will learn all this kind of joins. Okay, then the last one we have is okay, divide. Okay, for divide, okay, uses one two column tables, okay, two column tables as the dividend and one single column table as the divisors. Okay, output is a single column that contains all values from the second columns of the dividends that are associated with every row in the divisors. Okay, so this is for divide. Okay, divide. Okay, table A, okay, table A divide code. Okay, so the result is okay 5. Okay, we want to have A and B. Okay, so how many A and B we have? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, divide table A. Okay, table A divide code. Okay, we want to divide based on code A and B. So the output that we have is 5 because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 rows for code A and B. Okay, so that's for divide. Okay. Okay, so that's for relational operators. Okay, relational set operators. So, any questions? Okay. Data dictionary and the system catalog. Okay, so what is data dictionary? Okay, it is a description of all tables in the database that's created by users or designers. Okay, so we must have a data dictionaries. Okay, when we create a database, okay, when we design a database, we must have a data dictionary. Okay, so it is contains all the descriptions of the databases that we have created. Okay, so for example, we have data dictionaries for when we want to create a tables. Okay, so we must have a description for table for all the tables that we have created. Okay, in terms of the column names, okay, the attributes, the table names, okay, attributes, okay, any constraints that we want, okay, and then the types of the types values for that attributes. Okay, and that system catalog, it is a system data dictionary that describes all objects within the database. Okay, homonyms and synonyms must be avoided to lessen confusions. Okay, homonyms, it is when the same name is used to label different attributes. Okay, so let's say when you want to put the student last name, okay, so please, it is better if we put as a student and name. Okay, so then we know that's refer to student last name. Okay, but we cannot put two attributes. Okay, two attributes with same name. Okay, we cannot put student name for student last name and we student name for student first name. So we cannot put the same name. Okay, for different attributes. Okay, okay, synonym. Okay, synonym, it is when different names are used to describe the same attributes. Okay, so it is contradict with homonyms. Okay, synonym, it is when two names, okay, two names are used to describe the same attributes. Okay. Okay. Relationship within the relational database. Okay, when in a database systems, okay, we have a few types of relationships. Okay, relationships that we have, it is in a database we represented using the foreign key that you have learned just now. Okay, so there are a few types of relationship. Okay, the first one is one to m. Okay, so it is referred to one to many. Okay, one to many relationship. Okay, so this one to many relationship, it is the normal relationships that we have for relational databases. Okay, so most of the relational database, we have this one to many relationship. Okay, one to one relationship. Okay, it is a relationship when one entity can be related to only one another entities. Okay, one to one relationship. Okay, many to many relationship, it is implemented by creating a new entity in one to many relationship with the original entities. Okay, so this is many to many. Okay, so you have one to many, okay, one to one, and many to many. Okay, when we want to implement a database, okay, for all many to many relationship, we have to break up this many to many, okay, by creating a new entity and make it in a one to many relationship. Okay, it can be done by creating a composite entities. Okay, so these composite entities also known as bridge or associative entities. Okay, so this is one way how we can create how we should implement in order to solve the many to many relationship. Okay. Okay. It helps to avoid problems inherent to many relationships, includes the primary keys of the tables to be linked. Okay. Let me explain the differences between these types of relationships. Okay, so this is examples of one-to-one relationships, okay, between professors and departments. Okay, if you look at here, okay, one professors chairs one and only one department. Okay, when we want to read the relationship, okay, between entities, okay, one professors, okay, chairs one and only one department. Okay, okay, then one department is chaired by one and only one professors. Okay, so meaning that okay, for one HOD, okay, one lecturer, okay, can manage one department, okay, and then one department, okay, is managed by one lecturer. So that's one-to-one relationship. Okay, okay, okay. So this is for one-to-one. Okay, so this is an approach that we have used, okay, to change, okay, when we design a database, if there is any many-to-many relationships, okay, you have to solve that by creating a bridge entities. Okay, so let's say if we look at here a relationship between student and class. Okay, one student has enrolled in one or many class. Okay, one student, okay, has registered in one or many class. Okay, you as a student, okay, you can register one course for one semester or many courses for one semester. Okay, so okay, all class, okay, can be registered by one or many students. Okay, one course, okay, can be registered by one or many students for that particular courses. Okay, okay. Let's say for example database. Okay, there are many students can register for database. Okay, and then database class can be registered by many students. So that's here we have many to many relationship. Okay, okay. Then what should we do? Okay, we have to resolve this many to many relationship. Okay, we cannot have many to many relationship when we want to design a database. Okay, okay. One way, as I explained earlier, is okay to create a new entities. Okay, so this new entities is referred as a bridge or associative entities. Okay, so now, okay, we broke down the students and class, okay, and then we create a new entity here, which is the name of the entity is enroll. Okay, enroll here, it is referred to a bridge entities. Okay, so this is an enrollment. Okay, every semesters, okay, when you register for for that semesters, you are given a list of courses, right? In your you will receive a list of courses. Okay, so your name, your matric numbers, and list of courses that you have registered. Okay, here, okay, one student registered one or many enrollment. Okay. Okay, and then one enrollment. Okay, so that registrations, okay, that you obtain after you did a registrations, it is belong to one and only one students. Okay. Okay, then one enrollment, okay, shows in one and only one class. Okay, so let's say for database. Okay, for that database that you registered, it is shown in one and only one class. Okay, and one class, okay, can be shown in one or many enrollment. Okay, so this is a way how we can resolve the many to many relationship. So if we look at student enroll class entities, okay, so student and class, it is the existing entities, and then enroll here, it is the bridge entities, okay, that we have created in order to resolve many to many relationship. Okay. Okay, so that's for many one to one, okay, one to many and many to many relationship. Okay, so these are the expand ER models, okay, for the previous examples, okay. Okay, so this is the way how we should read, the correct way to read the ER model, okay. Okay, one course has one or more class. Okay, let's say for example for database, okay, it can have one or many classes. Okay, so one course has one or many class. Okay, and then one class, okay, one class it is belong to one and only one course. Okay, so this is for course and class. Okay, one student, okay, registers in one or many enroll. Okay, one enroll it is registered by one and only one student. Okay, and enrollment it shows in one and only one class. Okay, and then one class is shown in one or many enrollment. Okay. Okay, any questions for this ER model? How to read the ER model? Okay, you will learn this later in the next chapter next week, I think. Okay. Okay. Okay, so many to many relationship. Okay. Okay, next. Okay, data redundancy. Okay, relational database facilitates control of data redundancies through the use of foreign keys. So, when the main purpose why we have to implement the database system is we want to reduce any data redundancies that might occur. Okay, so inside the relational database itself, it facilitates the control of data redundancies through the use of foreign keys. Okay, so when we have the foreign keys, we can eliminate, okay, we can reduce the data redundancies. Okay, so to be controlled accepts the following circumstances. Okay. Okay, data redundancy must be increased to make the database serve crucial information purposes. Okay, exist to preserve the historical accuracy of the data. Okay, so we have, okay, as I explained earlier, okay, we have the main purpose of database system is to reduce data redundancies, but in the certain circumstances, okay, certain situations, okay, we must increase the data redundancies so that the database serve the crucial information purposes. Okay, for the certain reasons, okay, the data redundancies is still increased. Okay. Okay, and then in terms of historical accuracy of the data, okay, we still need the data redundancies. Okay, this is still happens. Okay. Okay, the relational diagrams for the invoicing number. Okay, so this is examples of okay, if you look at this these ER diagrams, okay, so customer, okay, one customer has many. Okay, so this is a symbol of many. Okay, one customer has many invoice. One invoice is given to one customer. Okay, one customer, okay, one invoice contains many line. Okay, and then one line this belongs to one invoice. Okay, this is a way they resolve the many to many relationships. Okay, one line it is belong to one product. Okay, one product has many lines. Okay, so this is for invoice number. Okay, invoice. Okay, so this is the bridge entities. Okay, invoice is the bridge entity between customer and line. Okay, so okay, for line, okay, for invoice we have invoice number. Okay, invoice number is the primary key from line, and customer code, it is the primary key for customers. Okay, so when it is exists in a new bridge entities as a primary key. Okay, invoice number and customer code, it is the primary key for invoice. So this is the bridge entities for customer and line. Okay, and then we add another attribute, which is invoice date. Okay, index. Okay, what is index? Okay, it is okay, it is required. Okay, index, it is an orderly arrangement to logically access rows in a tables. Okay, so usually for index, it is required for a database. Okay, to arrange orderly arrangement to logically access rows in a tables. Okay, so we have index key and unique index. Okay, index key, it is an index reference point that leads to data locations that's identified by the key. Okay, unique index, it is an index key that can have only one pointer values associated with it. Okay, each index is associated with only one tables. Okay, so index, it is that we use to point. Okay, that we use to have as a pointer to that values in a table. Okay, okay, so okay, so that's the end of today's lecture. Do you have any questions? Class, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and then you can ask.
Sorry, doctor, is the index same as the primary key?
Okay, no, index, it is different with the primary key, because index, it is that we use as a point. Okay, point to refer to the tables. Okay, usually index, it is not related to the value of the data, the value of the attributes, but it is belongs to that the attribute names, the attribute set. Okay, it is just the reference point. It is if we look at the primary key, usually for the primary key, it is belongs to the value, right? Okay, the value. But for index, it is belongs to the reference points. Okay, that we want to point to that values.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Hello, hello. Just proceed to your answers, to your questions.
Ma'am, I couldn't sign my attendance through
Okay, never mind. I will also download your attendance here. I have download your attendance through the Teams also.
Where can I find it, ma'am?
It is regarding your attendance, right?
Yes.
Okay, besides spectrums, okay, for any synchronous class, we have downloaded your attendance through Teams. Okay, so don't worry. Okay, through Teams we can get your attendance too. Okay.
All right, ma'am. Thanks.
Okay.
Hello, I have a question. So, regarding the one-to-many relationship, it's kind of ambiguous. So, in order to select a specific row, we have to use the secondary key, right?
Okay.
Yeah, for the one-to-many relationship.
No, okay, for one-to-many relationships, okay, so if I share okay, so this is for student and enroll. These are examples of one-to-many relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but your question it is regarding the secondary school, secondary kids.
No, I mean like since one-to-many relationship is ambiguous, you don't know which specific row that you want. So in order to identify that specific row, we need to have another key, right?
Okay, for Dr. Fariza, can you do you understand the questions, or do you want to answer?
Maybe if I write the question, it will be easier to understand.
Okay. Maybe you asking you don't understand how the one-to-many relationship is defined. Is that your question? You don't understand why it is a one-to-many, is it?
I understand why is it one-to-many. I just don't know how to find one specific row in that relationship.
There is no specific row. I mean, when you say a relationship is one-to-many, it's between the relationship between two entities. We will talk about this more next week lah. Okay, when we do entity relationship diagram and so on. But for a basic understanding, when you have two entities, these entities must have a relationship. So, for example, just now there is this one professor can okay. For example, one faculty can have many students, right? But one student can only be a part of one faculty. You cannot be from faculty science computer and also from faculty science. You have to be at only one faculty, right? So between student and faculty, that is a one-to-many relationship. That means one faculty can have many students, but one student can only have one faculty, can only belong to one faculty. So when you have that kind of relationship, that is called a one-to-many relationship. It's just to explain what is the relationship between these two entities. It's got nothing to do with rows. I mean, we're not talking about rows.
Yes,
We
are talking about the relationship between two entities.
Maybe when you do exercises for next week, it will be more clearer to you. But right now, you just need to understand that there are basically three types of relationship: one-to-many, one-to-one, and many-to-many. And then we will see how that comes like that. We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, class, any more questions? I have shared the video that I opened just now, okay, through Spectrum. So maybe by watching that video, you should know better the differences between super keys, candidate keys, primary keys, and so on. Okay, so that's important. That's the main concept that you should know. Okay, when you doing your database letter. Okay, any more questions? Okay, I guess there are no more questions from you. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can ask later. Okay, so again for your tutorials, okay, you have to submit before we will upload the tutorial questions later, and then please make sure that you submit your tutorial answers before 3 p.m. This week, this Thursday. Okay, and then we are going to have the class this week for tutorials. Okay, synchronous class. Okay. Okay, so if there is no more questions, so we ended the class for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you,
Thank
Doctor.
you,
Thank you,
Doctor.
Doctor.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.